Hello YouTube. Today we're not exactly riding. Today we're wrenching. So this is Wrenching with Charles. What we're doing today is we are taking the old brake lines off and putting new brake lines on. And we're also replacing the stock brake switch, which is kind of dirty and corroded and generally unreliable, and replacing it with a pressure switch and pressure actuated brake light switch. And we're also replacing this goobered up guy here, brake fluid reservoir, because although I cleaned up the seals and everything pretty well, it is still weeping. Some brake fluid is weeping out, which means that oxygen is weeping in, and it's going to make the brake fluid all nasty after some period of time. What's wrong with the brake lines? These are stainless steel brake lines that I built last winter using instructions that I found on the GS Resources forum, and they work just fine. I'm fairly confident in them. Nice and firm. They've never let me down. They've never given me any mushiness or anything. The problem is that I didn't follow the instructions, and when I ran it down here, it got all twisted up because I didn't use a swivel end adjuster, or a swivel end fitting. So when I started torquing down this fitting here, it twisted the lines and makes it all ugly, and I just don't think that's a good solution. So I'm going to try to make it a good solution by just replacing the lines. I bought some from an outfit in Canada called Red Sport, and they make very high quality brake lines. These are even coated. Looks like a plastic PVC or something on the outside. Very high quality, and they're very reasonable prices and very good to deal with. These are our parts. We have the longer brake line is going to run from the master cylinder down to the left caliper, and then the shorter brake line bridges the two calipers basically. And this replaces the stock front braking setup on GS850, which has 3 lines. One which goes down from the master cylinder to a little T, which is normally behind this cover here, and then it splits and goes to each caliper. The 2-line method works just as well, and is cheaper because you're buying 2 lines instead of 3. And that's the story there. New brake switch, new plastic reservoir, and banjo bolts that I won't use, and crush washers that I will. Let's do it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up the brake fluid reservoir. Yes, I have purple gloves. I'm secure in my manhood with my purple gloves. Hello, brake fluid. And I'm gonna start on the right hand caliper and try and do this one-handed. Undo this. We'll have brake fluid dropping down here. Good. Into my kitty pan. I hope brake fluid doesn't eat plastic. I don't think it does. It must not. Old banjo bolt out. And we let that drip. And then we go and do the other one. Alright, I moved the kitty litter box, and it's time to undo this one and let it drain. I should probably mention also that you want to undo the bleeder screws, loosen them up, so you drain all the fluid out of the calipers, as I have just done without taking a video of it. I put a rag underneath my master cylinder. Some brake fluid is going to drip out. I'm not concerned really about messing up any paint on this. It's in pretty bad shape. I just don't like to get fluid everywhere. So let's take this one off. One-handed like. There. pressure washer. Bolt. Putting all my bolts over here to keep them orderly. It'll help if I put the camera on them, huh? So I'm gonna pull it up. Should I pull it up or should I pull it down? I think it really matters not. I'll pull it down. I don't know why. I just feel like pulling it down. Of course, it's up. Right here. That's tricky. How did I get that through in the first place? Clearly, this is going to take brute force. Yeah. There we go. Come through. And come through. Come through. I have it going through the speedo cable holder thingy. And here's one old brake line. I have this loop going using the actual brake line holders that Suzuki designed them for, but obviously Suzuki didn't have a loop going over the fender. That just pops right out. That's nice. Split here. And I'm going to put that down there. Go on the other side. Pop out. And remove that. Brake line number 2. Alright. So, the brake lines are on. The neighbor is loud. Everything is more or less hand tight right now, or finger tight, or whatever, because I want to make sure don't go cranking everything down before it's all together, fitted, test fitted, whatever. So those are on, and get the hoop coming up. Hoop, although it's bent back a little bit more than I'd like. Who cares about that? My main line up to my master cylinder runs up this way. It fits very well. Comes up here. And I have the new brake pressure. Oh, you know what? I gotta put the boot back on. I almost forgot the boot. See, that's why you don't tighten these down. Boot. The booty. Booty. Boot. This is on. I need to undo this to put the boot on, but this is basically how it's going to be hooked up. On this end, I asked the brake line maker guy to put a swivel fitting on, because the way brake lines, stainless steel brake lines are, they don't really twist. You can twist them, but that can mess them up. And I was racking my brain trying to mentally unfold this brake line, because, as I said, the one I made before, it's not. It works, but it's not the model of quality. So, trying to figure out the correct orientation that the fittings should go in, and I just said, you know what? I'm gonna pay an extra, I think it was like $6, and get a swivel fitting. And what that means is that once I have everything the way I want it, this gets tightened down, and then that's a fluid-proof seal. I hope. I thought I was going to be clever by putting a slit in the back of the booty for the brake light switch wire to go into, but actually putting the boot on is pretty much impossible. So I think I'm going to have to just nix the booty, which, yeah, I'm not too heartbroken, to be honest. I just wish I could have covered up that switch a little bit. Okay, so I have all 3 ends, brake line ends, tightened down. Yeah, this one, well, I guess there's 4 really things to tighten on in my case. This one, the swivel fitting, right caliper, and left caliper, all tight. So now, an introduction to my bleeding procedure. I'm going to put brake fluid here. I'm going to close this bleeder valve. I'm going to crack open this bleeder valve. I'm going to pull brake fluid. Instead of push with a brake lever, I am simply going to pull brake fluid using this handy dandy gizmo right here. This is a 60cc medical syringe with fuel tubing attached. You could use a vacuum. This is basically a vacuum bleeding setup, only I'm not using a special vacuum bleeder. I'm using a syringe. I've done this. This will be my third time, and it has always worked wonderfully. You just basically yell at the dog for barking so much. You basically put fluid in the top, pull air and fluid down. When you stop getting bubbles, you stop pulling the syringe. Sometimes you have to disconnect it from the hose and push some air out, and that's completely normal. I often end up avoid getting brake fluid inside the syringe. If you do, it doesn't seem to hurt it. And there's no way I can do this one-handed because I have to be manipulating the syringe and a bottle of brake fluid and a wrench on the bleeder valve. And since I have no tripod, there's no way I can show you how to do this. So you'll just have to trust me that it works. But it does work, and it works awesomely. And that's what I'm going to do, like right now. Okay, so I have all the bolts and everything tightened up. The banjo bolts, this here fitting, both calipers. I have brake fluid in here. It is bled. The brakes are pretty good, pretty firm. It still feels like there may be a smidgen of air in there, but the last time I had this, I tied the lever back overnight, as is recommended on internet forums, and they've been perfectly fine since. Well, until I just undid them tonight. So I'm going to do that tonight. Should be fine. The only thing I really have left to do for this project is to attach the brake light switch. That means removing the old one, which is under here. That doohickey there, unreliable piece of junk. And this one is actually, it's plug and play. These fit right into the things. The only downside is I have to take off the, get into the headlight bucket, which I always hate doing because those massive wires up there is just a pain in the butt to deal with and scrunch back up, and yeah, I hate it, but I have to do it for this. It'll be worth it. Oh, and in case anyone's wondering which pair of wires it is, you can pretty much, it's easy to find out, but it's the orange, it's hard to see, but it's orange and white with the red too, are your headlight, brake light wires. I got my brake lines all connected. I got the new pressure switch on, new reservoir, although I do have to check to make sure it's topped off. That would be kind of important. New fangled brake lines, and the brake switch works. It doesn't doesn't come on immediately because it requires some pressure to kick in, but it comes on right there. About where it starts getting pretty firm. So I have some overnight bleeding to do. If that doesn't fix it, I'll try more bleeding, I suppose, but other than tying that back and tying the lever back and topping off the brake fluid reservoir, this job is pretty much done. Thanks for watching.